The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made against the family as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are caring for the people in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the street by employees of various corporations that are guised as counties, cities, towns, township, boroughs. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations, and as such, they, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income or even bring a claim against the Aboriginal indigenous people or any people on American soil, this making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against these unalienable constitutional treaty-secured rights of the people, Aboriginal indigenous Moors of this land. If the municipal corporation has been provided, then we reference that along with the union state. If we don't have the municipal corporation where the employee works that actually did the kidnapping, then we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. This list comprises Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is a violation of the American Constitution 1791, and it is a treaty violation, being that we are talking about Moorish Americans, Aboriginal indigenous to this land, who have been kidnapped by employees of foreign corporation on American soil. This making this an international issue because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far within your immediate family or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to mhhseyeswideopen@gmail.com. In the subject line, put Kidnap Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union state that this corporation is in purview to. So with that, we start out with our sister Abkare Bay, kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis Corporation and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Daoud Il under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Muslimin Il Kusu Ra Kush Bay under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patah Amin Ra Bay under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Paler Il, Terry Thorne Bay, J. McCall Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Il, Kush Amir Bunch Il, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yassin Khalik Alamin Il, Michael Curry Bay, all under the purview of North Carolina, Noble Crisco Il under the purview of New Jersey, Messiah Aziz Il and Crystal Il, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer Corporation, Freehold Corporation, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on an update regarding baby Patricia Bay, kidnapped by Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Eldridge Terran Fisher Il, Marquis Sevion Il under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Il Bay, and Mumi Abube under the purview of Texas, William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia, Bomani Abidwil Ill, kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia, Che Ray Bay under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California, Victor Eduardo Aguaye Juarez Ill, kidnapped by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia, Natro Tahuti Ill, kidnapped by Benner Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Rennie Bay, kidnapped by Hamilton Corporation under the purview of, Hamilton, Ontario Corporation under the purview, well, actually, it's Hamilton Corporation. The state would be Ontario, and that's that would be a union state, and it's on American soil that is referenced as Canada. And last but not least, Brian George Mills Bay, kidnapped by the employees working through Glades Corporation under the purview of Florida. Thank you very much.
All righty. Islam, and welcome to MHHS, Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Annie L., along with my co-host, Ms. Raheem Olive L.
Peace and love, Annie Ida. It's great to have you back on after missing you. What was that, 2-3 weeks in a row?
I don't even know. I lost track.
But I trust all is well. It's good to hear your voice back at this time on this line, and I'm trusting all is well. But for certain, great to be back here and have you back with us. All right.
Thanks. Rosemarie Bay.
She's back, and we like it like that. Welcome back, sister.
And Cujo Aguayo.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Welcome back.
Peace love. Thank you.
You know I was gonna sing a song for you, right?
Yeah, I was gonna sing, but Mother Roz took the lead on that one there.
Yeah, all right.
and also too, just to put on the record, Brother Rennie Bay's been liberated. He's home.
Oh, all right. I know I had to redo the list, but even though I haven't been here for like 2-3 weeks, I still haven't had time to redo the list. So I'm gonna have to definitely update that. Let's see. Trying to open the chat room, so if it's not open, everyone just bear with me. It will be open momentarily. Sending a big shout out to our family listening over near the corporate construct known as Great Britain, Japan, South Africa, the Netherlands, Islam Brother Buffett. Oh, goodness, wait a minute. His name, I don't think I pronounced it right, and it just went out my head that quick. Oh my gosh. Anyways, Islam to the brother over there in the Netherlands. Seemed like he's the only Moor out there, but I know he's really not. You're not alone. Let's see. Family listening over in the Philippines, in Panama, Barbados, the corporation known as Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, and the two families we have yet to connect with near these various corporations. Let's see, before I get started, we need to first apologize because this Sunday was supposed to be Sisters Standing on Law, and with everything that's been going on, it just completely slipped my mind that it was the third week this past Sunday. So we have rescheduled Sisters, plus it was Easter, so that probably wouldn't have been good for people, or most people were celebrating Easter. So that probably wouldn't have been good for a lot of people anyway. So this Sunday, we will be having Sisters Standing on Law at 1 o'clock. We also have Sons of Allah this Thursday at 9 p.m. And this Wednesday is the third Wednesday. However, Ross, as well as I, will not be in the National Theater. We will be having Abdul. Oh, you're going to? All right. But,
I'm not doing the class. Go ahead. Yeah, but I'll physically be there. Yeah.
All right. So Roz will be there. But the class this Wednesday and next Wednesday will be presented by Abdullah Mosley El Talib Bey. Did I say that right?
You did. You
oh,
did.
God. I always leave out the ill or put it in the wrong place, but I got it right, thank goodness. So make sure and check out the class for tomorrow and next Wednesday where Abdullah will be doing the presentation. And I think that's it for the announcements, except for one announcement that I do want to make. I was listening to the broadcast, and I did have some control of the studio. And however, I wasn't able to actually participate in the discussion. And I believe there was a moment in the broadcast where it got a little bit out of hand and off topic. So I muted the caller, and I believe I sent a text to us and I think to the caller asking that this needs to be discussed offline because it sounded like a private matter and it didn't have anything to do with the topic that was being discussed, or in fact it didn't have anything to do with what we usually talk about, which is law and heritage. And how we can rebuild the missing information that we have lacking within us. So I just wanted to make it clear that I was the one that did mute the caller because I didn't feel that it was an appropriate conversation to be having. And so I just wanted to make that announcement and move into our discussion of today's broadcast.
Yeah, and thank you for making that announcement, Sister Anna E., because I really thought at first that I had accidentally muted her, and I really believed that, and I didn't want it to, I didn't want that to be the case, but it needed to be the case because the second time I did mute her. So when when she got back on and she was just going off and off and off and off. Then so thanks for clearing that up because we haven't been able to clear that out with her, but if she listened, she now knows. All right, peace and love.
Yes. All right, so that cleared up. Today's broadcast is entitled The Wheels of Industry Will Stop, and when they start back up, they will be in the hands of the Moors. And I might have misquoted that because I didn't actually have my Prophecies and Statement book on hand. But that is a quote from Prophet Noah Drali, and I'm hoping I got the quote somewhat correct. There are very interesting and exciting events happening in the world today. However, you will likely miss it if you're not paying attention. This is expressed more and more in the events of today, and the trivial issues going on having nothing to do with your inner growth will blind you to what you ought to be paying attention to, else you miss the sign and symbol necessary for you to make change to self. Man, know thyself. Now, I may not have been here for the past two or 3 weeks, but it's as though in everything the information is coming to me, I'm being spoken to. That's sort of like, or, it's like I am seeing things and connecting dots. And, it's like nothing, I don't watch TV, but, I watch certain programs and things. Sometimes I'm online doing a post and something catches my eye, and I'll go and look and do some further researching, and it's sort of kind of like a revelation. And I feel that if you're studying and you're searching within yourself, because this is not about you searching outside of yourself or paying attention to other people or trying to critique other people, this is all about each and every one of us going within ourselves, tapping into that source within to not just pull information out of us, because we all have the same information. I don't have any more information than anyone else. The only difference might be that I have done a little bit more studying within rather than without. And so I have made that connection, and and I'm getting fed on a daily basis, more like on an hourly, minutely, secondly basis, because things are just being unveiled at every moment of every day. So as I was going about doing my posting of class or bits and pieces of information that I come across, I ran into a post by someone else, and it read 2017 debt crisis. Once vacation ends, Congress, or the so-called Congress, will have 4 days to avoid government shutdown on April 29th. So right now, the corporate entity known as Congress, they're on vacation. And when they come back, they have 4 days to balance and approve a budget. And if not, if you recall, about 2 or 3 years ago, this same thing happened, and I believe it was maybe Obama's administration, and the federal government shut down. I think it happened twice. The federal corporation shut down because they didn't have a budget to, pass out, their Federal Reserve note. And if you recall, some of the so-called federal parks were shut down, and a lot of modern Europeans who, live a portion of the year in these parks, they were not able to get in, and they made a big commotion about it. So it's going to be interesting, and a lot of the so-called federal programs were put on hold. People weren't getting Social Security checks, and because all of these corporations, state and municipal, they're all federally funded. So if there's no if all the federal dollars stop, state and municipal corporations stop as well, because they're all federally funded. They have no product or service. They're doing everything through the appearance of providing a service, but all of their so-called service is under the threat, duress, and coercion. So I thought it was interesting that on the 29th, once again, the federal USA corporation may shut down again. So I thought that was interesting, because here we go again. And so I was reading something else, and it brought me to another posting where it said that Bolivia became the first South American country. Now, this post is talking about ban Rothschild banks, but really what they're saying in essence is they're no longer going to be using the Federal Reserve note. And I want to read a little bit of what is written in this little article, because this is nationality in action. It said, so Bolivia has reclaimed its financial independence by not responding to financial pressure from the USA government or Rothschild-owned banking entities. The South American country is one of the growing list of nations that are rejecting the International Monetary Fund and freeing themselves from financial and economic slavery. YNW reports the International Monetary Fund and the U.S.-dominated World Bank have been major players in the global economic landscape ever since their creation in 1944. These international banking organizations, which are privately controlled by the notorious banking family, first pressure nations to deregulate their financial sector, allowing private banks to loot their economies. An increasing number of people are waking up to the fact that 99% of the Earth's population is controlled by an elite 1%. Let's see, once the governments are forced to bail out their deregulated financial sectors, the IMF and World Bank sets up a loan package written in secret. Bolivia has become the first South American country to grow wise to the rules. They have worked hard to gain financial independence and are now in the process of kicking the controlled banks out of the country. That means no more Federal Reserve notes will be exchanged in Bolivia. Before Evo Morales assumed the office of president, Bolivia was suffering from the effects of IMF and World Bank imposed austerity and privatization that exploited its people and resources. It was also South America's so-called poorest nation. Though the Bolivian people, through strong showings of popular resistance over the period of years, were able to stop some of the worst privatization efforts, particularly the privatization of the nation's water supply, many of the shackles imposed by these controlled institutions remain. Morales, who became Bolivia's 80th president in 2006, was the first president to come from Bolivia's majority indigenous Aymara population and has since focused on poverty reduction and combating the influence of the United States and multinational corporations in Bolivia. 10 years later, Morales has managed to transform Bolivia into the fastest growing South American economy, all while maintaining a balanced budget and slashing its once crippling government debt. I wanted to, I apologize because there were certain parts of this that I really wanted to just bring out, but because I'm not home, I didn't have access to my printer, so I can print and highlight the portions that I wanted to speak on. So I'm trying to skim through. In order to obtain credit, Morales praised social movements and the people's unity for the country's ability to resist and reject privatization and foreign influence. However, Bolivia has done much more under Morales' leadership than ban international banking cartels from operating within its borders. Bolivia has kicked out numerous multi-corporations since Morales took office, including McDonald's and Coca-Cola, while also refusing to cooperate with the U.S. disaster war on drugs. It also devotes 14% of its national budget to education, the second most of any country in South America, in contrast to only 1.7% of the national budget goes to education in the U.S. Morales also forced foreign oil and gas companies to pay an astounding 82% of its profits to the Bolivian government, which is used to fund a variety of popular social programs benefiting the poor. Poverty in Bolivia has dropped significantly as a result. That was my second article that I found and was reading, and it was very, very interesting. The third article that I found that was most interesting is entitled 23 Countries Now Abandoning U.S. Dollars. A new world monetary system is being set up right now which will completely kill the U.S. dollar, which is the world's reserve currency. 23 countries, 60% of the world's GDP, are setting up swap lines which bypass the dollar and SWIFT, which is the dollar-based worldwide financial transaction system. These countries include Russia, China, India, and even Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. Once the new system is in place, $1 won't be needed in these. Our dollar won't be needed in these countries, meaning the U.S. Federal Reserve note won't be needed in these countries, and a new reserve currency will come into being. All those dollars in foreign accounts will come home, which will annihilate the USA monetary system. Now, for all those people who think that we have to be concerned with the Federal Reserve note, you need to calm down and read the prophecies and the statements, all right? Now, the list of the 23 countries which are creating new swap lines outside of the dollar include China, Russia, India, and surprisingly, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. This means that the Eurozone itself is abandoning the dollar and preparing for transition to a new central banking system. To facilitate the transfer of currencies and swap lines, there needs to be a bank of sufficient size and stature to aid in handling of this monumental task. 1 year ago, China, along with the BRICS nations, BRICS nations of Brazil, Russia, India, and South Africa, loaned money to a new financial institution they established and labeled the BRICS Bank, that's BRIC. This bank was created with the intention of bypassing the Federal Reserve note and allowing free trade to occur between nations without the need to trade for Federal Reserve notes first, as is currently the format under the petrodollar system. In fact, the new BRICS Bank will function both as a bank of international settlement as well as a lender of last resort, eliminating the need for the BIS and the IMF, which currently reside under dollar dominion. The only thing that stands in the way of the world's financial rejection of the dollar is the wavering trust that Saudi Arabia and OPEC have with the U.S. in assuring oil transactions remain dominated in dollars under the 1970s petrodollar agreement. But as the world has seen recently, even the Saudi kingdom is hedging towards a new global system and has publicly stated that their ties to the USA are open for renegotiation. There's more to that article, but I thought that was enough because as I read these three articles, I heard in my mind Prophet Noble Drew Ali's prophecy. The wheels of industry will stop, and when they start back up, they will be in the hands of the Moors. Now, the USA federal entity, to my knowledge, has shut down, I want to say, at least 2 times. And they have come back up. This is the 3rd time. Now, I'm not saying that this 3rd time is going to be the prophecy fulfilled. I'm just saying that this is a prophecy. The U.S. system has shut down 2 times that we know of, and there's prediction on the 29th of April that it will shut down a 3rd time. So it's, to me, my mind says that, look, we need, the prophet said, or I believe it's written in the prophecies and the statements, I'm not sure where it is, but it says that we need to learn through signs and symbols. There are signs and symbols all around us every day. These pieces of information that I just read to you, they did not come from the media in terms of the so-called news broadcast or the so-called newspapers. I don't know why they call them newspapers. They're not really reporting any news. That's on record. They don't report news. They report what they want the people to think, not what is actually happening around the world. So instead of us looking at our brethren and our sisters, faults and shortcomings, we need to pay more attention to ourselves and the signs and the symbols that are going on around us, because those signs and those symbols, along with study and research, is what is going to assist us and help us in overcoming the things that are actually coming, and the things that are going to affect us greatly in the near future, actually the present as well as the near future. So I just feel like some people are going to hear this information and they're going to get all panicky and, oh my God, I got to go buy some gold or silver. Look, you don't have to do none of that. What we need to do is we need to study for ourselves, and we also need to reflect on ourselves, because man's business is about reflection, and it is through reflection that this information that is here for us is going to make sense. It's through reflection that we're going to be able to decipher and figure out which way we need to be going. And it's certainly not going to be in any trivial manner. I mean, so much of what I see, it seems like a rendition of a lot of these scandalous reality shows that are going on today in people's lives, and that's not going to help us at all. So we need to move away from airing our dirty laundry in the public and pointing fingers and critiquing everybody else, and stop doing that and just reflect on ourselves and learn, go within, because there's big changes happening. And all of this, the discussions that are going on that are so trivial, it's not going to prepare us for the big things that are going on now. And those big things have the potential to affect us if we are not prepared. But it is not, I repeat, it is not the time to be fearful or scary. It really is a time to be hopeful, and because all of this energy that's coming in, it's good and positive energy, because all of the crap that we have been forced to deal with, it is going away. It has got to go. So if all of the crap that we have been dealing with is going away, it can only be good stuff that's coming as we move into this age of Aquarius, which is the time for everybody to know. So all of us, we need to start knowing, and the only way that we're going to be able to do that is through study, research, and reflection. Islam?
Islam.
Quick interjection just to cap off what you just closed out on in the oral statements, number 60. The Holy Prophet told the Moors, I am doing the East right now. I am going to have to go to straighten out the East, and then I will end up in the West. This, the West, will be the easiest. You will be able to lie down and sleep and wake up in peace. This will be just a breakfast fight. By the time you eat breakfast, it will be over with. Prophecy's already been laid out. Everything that was documented, said by him, that's prophecy, has happened or is about to happen. And like we said when we were just at Seattle, Arab guy who's from the East knew that here was Maghreb, over here. Right? And again, that's prophecy. He's somebody from the East. That Drew Ali said they're going to come here and they're going to assist with taking some of these beast heads over here. Because it's also the time of revelations. You know, the opening of the 7 seals, this is the Quran and all that. Happening right now. And it's like we were talking about earlier. The low road is not for allodial Moors. Only the high road. And just like was said again, if you happen to be on the low road, check yourself. Don't worry about other stuff, because you're the one that's on the low road, going through whatever BS you're going through for being on the low road.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be taken like not serious, but you know, the Holy Quran that Noble Drew Ali prepared for the Moors is serious. That will cure you of mental slavery that you have now, if you're open to the lessons that are embedded within everything that Noble Drew Ali brought, because he said, everything I said is spirit, so Moors better heed to what I'm saying. Everything I said is spirit. So don't worry about these people with their only the divine constitution is divine and, you know, only the supreme laws are supreme. Everything that he said is divine and supreme.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, again, it's only going to be a handful saved and fingers left over and all that. So, you know, pick a side because it's already established what's going to happen. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I yield the floor, Islam.
That's fine.
And one more thing. When you're talking about the IMF, go back to the 2001 documentary, Life and Debt, by a European, talking about how IMF took over Jamaica. Took over, like hijacked the island.
That's right.
To do their corporate stuff that they like to do. Yeah, I yield the floor.
Wow. Yes, Islam. Wow. Like you said, the prophecies are already around. They're already here. It's not like what's gonna happen. We're in it. We are in it and living in it. And you couldn't have said it better. That it's really, we got to really get serious about what's going on through the signs and the symbols as we were instructed to look for and deal with. And and it's about reflection. So yeah, it's not. I think that the only reason people are reflecting on some lower things and remaining in that basket, if you will, as Cujo says, that low road. If you read Caveat Emptor, it tells you there is a road below. So it's because they just have not taken the time out to study enough of the information to be able to recognize it for themselves and say, wow, this is on point, and it kind of adds up to almost any revelations, any spirit scriptures, etc. like that. It kind of adds into. So when you keep hearing the same thing, no matter what discipline you think you're in when it comes to reading the prophetic or prophecies, you'll find that they're all headed or talking about the same thing spiritually. So we're supposed to be on that road. And if you don't recognize it, then that's really the simple gauge that you just really have not studied enough, or that maybe you're looking into the wrong stuff, because they have certainly put information in the road for you to stumble upon and distract you from the road that we're supposed to be on. I wanted to say, and let me just find this real quick, and then I'm going to yield the floor, because I know that in one of the pages on the let me just find it. Bear with me 1 second, please. On one of the pages, I believe it was on the page that was dealing with the Quo Warranto, I had put something there that was scriptural. And I think that it, I think that it would sum up what we're saying right now. And I'm almost there to it. It's on the page. It's on. Give me a second. It's on the page, and it talks about the branches and the roots that are the branches and the roots that are bitter of the trap that has been put before us. Now, this came out of the what's the book? Secret Teachings of John. And I'm just trying to see where I put it, if I can find it. It says, I put in there, peace be with us all, as you fight in the light of truth for the freedom for yourself and your children, because they are being sentenced to jails, penitentiaries, and concentration camps, wherein they have the opportunity to grade our children and families further and institutionalize their mindset particularly there are children who are stronger and brighter, and this is why the prophets, they get this information into the children at all costs. Now, these children, family, are our ancestors returned just as we are. They also recognize innately that there is something very wrong with what has been proposed and referred to as the American dream. And that dreams of this sort are for those who are sleeping, unconscious of the reality they create or manifest on this earth. They know that this earth is their entrusted inheritance, and their efforts, talking about the children, are on the family to remove themselves from the matrix of lies and deceit that has been perpetrated by criminals who have opposing efforts to maintain them in this matrix of lies and deceit for the future generations. The children are aware, or ought to be made aware, that these corrupt criminals tree. This is the portion that comes out of the secret teachings of John. And quite frankly, when I put it up, some people were like, I don't really get that. Well, get it now. Because what has been passed before you on that road, and that's that road below, is a tree. It's a tree that is a trap that's laced with false pleasure. The root of their tree is bitter. Its branches are death. Its shadow is hatred. A trap is in its leaves. Its blossom is bad ointment. Its fruit is death. Desire is its seed, and it sprouts where? In the dark. The dwelling place of those who taste of this tree is the underworld, and darkness is the resting place. So our children must seek after that which is not with anger, not with jealousy, not with envy, not with desire and greed. And this is for all of us. This is what we should be teaching to our families. As these things, anger, jealousy, envy, desire, and greed, are the traps of the flesh. And if you read into the 101, where it is explained what is the higher self and what is the lower self, they fall right into what lower self is. So therefore, we will be able to recognize lower self activity, and this is the trap that has been put before us on that lower road that we find ourselves in, and therefore cannot be able to see the higher road or the higher self, and the activities. Well, actually, we can't see what is really the lies and deceit. And this is why the prophet said, I've come to teach you, one, to be yourself, two, take you out of this mental slavery. And so with the studying, as we're talking about and comparing all notes, and as Kudil said, it's not just a divine constitution and bylaws, because those are divine as well, but it's all that was said. And some people do not go any further than that in their studies. So therefore, this is where we find ourselves. So we have to, I tell you what, if we haven't gotten to the point where we understand what's going on, we will be forced to, and the prophet also reminded us of that, we will all be forced to make some changes. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Yeah, I just wanted to correlate with the high road and the low road. To me, it kind of correlates with the principle of vibration and rhythm. You know, the fact that once something hits its lowest point, if it's going to survive from that, it has no other choice but to ascend. So once something reaches its lowest point, example like the sun in Capricorn, or for example, at the solstice, ascending back north. Like, it's like once something hits its lowest point, it has to ascend. And if it chooses to stay in the low place, specifically us being in the flesh and having the choice to either, you know, stay in the lower self or to ascend, like, because once you know the difference between the two, you know, you have that choice to go up that mountain where they're looking down, speaking of the same context of those Moors who, where Noble Drew Ali was saying specifically, with the Moors who think they're on the same road. And, you know, yeah, we're all Moors, but people have different agendas, as you see. You know, some Moors are like, you need to just submit and just, you know, acquiesce and gracefully accept just, you know, being a part of the European subjection. Not saying that that's something that's not real, but at the same time, there's other.
Alrighty. We seem to have dropped. He just dropped.
Oh,
so let me see if he. Hopefully he can get. I'm sure he can get back in, but I hope he can. He can continue on with his train of thought.
yeah, I'll
Let's
check with
see.
him.
Is he back in yet? Ah, here he is. Yep.
All
Here you
right.
go.
Peace.
Mom, you
Yeah,
there?
pardon me.
All right.
Yes, I'm here. Pardon me. I dropped my pen and my chain pen to hit my phone hang up button, and that's exactly what happened. So pardon me. Salute to Nabi and Anissa. Thank y'all. And yeah. So while there's people who are looking at it like, you know, about being subjected and we need to just accept this defeat, it's like this is the times where everything is falling apart. And going back to what Cujo was saying about the East becoming the West and looking at all of the things that are going on, I didn't check it out today to see what the latest update is, but like it's definitely war on the horizon on a larger scale, and that's a fact. That's not something I could say I want to see. I can't say it's something that hasn't already been going on, but it's about to definitely elevate. When you look at, okay, they dropped the so-called bomb on Syria, you know, on top of that, they called it Moab. Cujo, I know you pointed that out, or mother of all bombs, but not just that. It's not even just that. The fact that even with North Korea, like, you know, threatening and standing their square with what's going on, I don't know what has changed as of today because things are always changing, but it's just some unique times, and it's like if you don't realize what's like really going on right now, then you know it's a sad day, but it is what it is. Things are forced to make changes, as you have pointed out years ago, and we just in that time where it's like that text, that language that was in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, that's there, that is still standing law. This is what we're going to have to look at, because I'm telling you, even what Trump and them saying he's about Christianity, all of that, you know, you have to know who you are, who we are, where we stand as Moors, that can never be really a part of that. Like, we was enslaved, because even when we was in the museum, when they was talking about, quote-unquote, subjected Africans, they said enslaved, not slaves, in certain parts. You know what I'm saying? So it's like knowing the difference between the Slavics, the Europeans, and the Pilgrims, etc. Like in the prophecies that was already told that there would be more trying to put you back into slavery, quote unquote, you know, or enslavement, etc. And these days we got to know the distinction between the two and the two different roads, and where do they intersect at, or do they even intersect? You know, because like you said, it's a different road. So is it running parallel? Do they intersect? You know, these are things. So we see all of this. You know, people who are stepping out, and though they are Moors, they might represent an aspect of being subjects to the Yudah, etc. When Moors and Christians have always been diverse. And that's just the fact, you know. So with that being said, understanding the East and the West, et cetera, as you was mentioning, you know, we have to really look at what's globally going on right now, but also knowing that what we're doing right here is most important as well, because, like, again, this is a very big landmass with a lot of uncolonized land, you know, like untampered land. So being home, we need to know, you know, that those prophecies do need to come true as well and manifest as far as Moors, not just, you know, claiming that we're Moors. Yeah, that's the first step, or very initiatory, if you will, but actually, like, enjoying the benefits of our homeland, knowing that we home here is like a joy. I don't know how to explain to connect with, like, until you get out in nature and come back, like, you know, going to the mountains, coming back to the coastline and smelling the ocean, like literally smelling it miles away, just because you switched up environments and things like that. I just say that at the end of the day, one thing that will never change, you know, friendships, relationships, people in positions of power, quote unquote, all of these things change, but the law of nature doesn't. So, you know, if any so-called person in position of power was to go tomorrow, one thing that's not going to change is the law of nature. And just to connect with that infinite aspect of existence, I think is something that you got to give thanks for, going back to the birthrights and natural law of mothers, etc., giving birth and us being able to enjoy what we can, the aspects we can of this life, even being under attack by, you know, the colonists and our own even that's on the low road, you know, and then some had to go back to the low road to wake them up, you know. But I don't know, man. It's I just think that in the aspect of those who have been, and I'm not, because I'm sure that elevation is a process, you know, recognizing your nobility and stepping into that, you know. Noble is to know. That means elevated, Gnostics. So even in Gnostic wisdom, you got to deal with the law of nature, and that's just the bottom line. This is why all of these texts, from the Circle 7, as you was mentioning, could change your life. It starts off with, you know, the law of nature. That's just the bottom. That's the beginning, and the bottom line is it's about the law of nature. So that's how the Europeans are winning in the aspect, but actually losing at the same time, because it's a certain connection naturally that we have to this land that, you know, you can't. It's like they're here, they set up, but they're in a haunted house for them though. Like, if you get my drift, like the Europeans ruling in America is like them living in a haunted house. It's destined to fall. Like, it's not really in their favor. But those whose house it is, they don't know that the energy is all in their favor. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, while the Europeans are stepping into this position or acting as if they have this authority, it's burning them at the same time. So it's the same position of power. And one way or another, like, is going to collapse on itself, because if it's not based off of the principles that it was set up in, it's definitely going to collapse. So that's just where we at with it. That's how I'm viewing what's going on right now. Is like, you know, in all reality, they have set up shop in certain places, but there's so much of this land that is virgin. It's just crazy. So I don't see them as like being the supreme authority over the whole continent of North America, South America, or Morocco, including Canaan land. Like, because it's just so much virgin land, you know, so opposed to more cities over virgin land. So I'm just saying, to connect with the law of nature is just where we should be focused at. Even when you're out on the virgin land, you can see the stars different at night when there's no skylights, there's no skyscrapers. and like the sky is just, you just could see, very clear these signs of nature. You was talking about following the signs, and this is how Morse traveled, because all of these aspects, we were speaking the last week or the week before about Capricorn, the right to travel, as above, so below. There was Moors who were navigating not just on the earth plane, by horses, by boats, by planes, by, land conveyances through the stars. So that's not a far-fetched idea, and this is not any new history, but I'm just saying that when we look at the law of nature, to be able to do that, to correlate the stars with navigation, and as I was speaking of before, Capricorn, being correlative to the right to travel or whatnot, these are aspects that we cannot leave out because it is divine and national. It is about recognizing the signs, that we get through our daily lives, whether they be on billboards or whether we tunnel vision all of that out and just see nature for what it is. There's still signs. The sun is a sign. The moon is a sign. Evidence of something else existing off of this planet, but related. Pure, undeniable evidence. So are these stars, these twinkling stars. So all of these signs following them, from travels to navigation to planting, to industry, to how they even size you up and set up quote-unquote court dates and all of these things. It's a science that we definitely need not forget. Even going back to judicial astrology, even in law, all of these things are related. So these are paths, these are signs, and I say that, at the beginning and end of the day, it's about the law of nature, the Constitution, the principles that embody that, the essence of those things. And with that, I yield the floor. Peace.
Peace. I would like to add one other thing as well. Thank you for that, man. It is about the law of nature, and you're right. When you open up the Circle 7 Holy Quran, there it is, the rise and the fall. But with what is happening now, I had a conversation, and you reminded me of it with Anna Eve, but also when you mentioned Brother Nabi with him this past weekend. And why this is a mental slavery, even though all of this information is in front of the people, all of the signs, all of the symbols, all of the prophecies, and they're falling in place. The sad thing, well, I don't know if it's sad, it just is what it is that some people are not going to recognize. That's why the warning was given to man learns by signs and symbols. That's why everything in the spirit is dealing with nature's laws, and you're to be seeking that, right? Because some people, even in the face of all of this hard evidence, hard truth, hard revelations coming, right here, some people are going to still continue to walk themselves straight into the trap. All right, you're saying that, it's very likely that they're going to fall again, except for this time it's going to be even harder. It's kind of clear to everybody, I would think. But then the next day, if they make some sort of proposal to the people about something, because you think they are government, because you think they are who they are not, because he shall fool even the most elite, some, if they made on the media that they have, as you said, which does not report news but tells you how to shape and form your fashion, yourself, if they were to say whatever, some people are still going to run right towards it, which means this is what we recognize. They themselves are going to walk themselves right back into where they really don't want to be because of their belief of what they think they know, that they don't really know, so they can't see beyond what they know because they don't know enough to see beyond, all right? It's limited. And so they'll just continue to support them, to support it. It's like, the simplicity of what you tell people. You're not citizens of a quasi-national domicile. You're not a member of a corporation. These are all corporations. You've had enough time to figure that out. And they'll still say that they are, be that, and say that, oh, well, it's the law, not knowing what law is and what law is not. So therefore, they will be very easily called into and walk right into the trap. I guess that's what I'll call it. Islam. I just wanted to add that.
Islam. Yeah, what you're saying is actually all of this has been prophesied, and you know what else? This, if we look back in history, we will find that what is happening now and what could possibly happen in the future, it has already happened in the past. Because we seem to not learn our lessons, and so we keep repeating them over and over and over again. If we look back, Nationality, he said he's the last prophet. But there were previous prophets, and they have all gone through the same thing. They came, they gave information, a handful of people got it, the majority of them didn't, and that majority perished. And the wild card is you don't know in which category you're going to fall until the stuff hits the fan. Until it hits the fan. So, it's really not any, it's even with that, it's nothing to be afraid of, because each and every one of us, we have lessons that we are here to learn. If we didn't have any lessons, we wouldn't be here. My lesson is not going to be like anybody else's lesson, and other people's lessons is not going to be like mine. So, I remember hearing I think it was a lecture that I want to say his name is Bobby Hemmett, or maybe somebody was telling me about one of his lectures, and he said that some people are here just to be the decoy. And and when I heard that, I said, he could be right, because I don't know what anybody else's life purpose or lesson is. I'm trying to figure out mine. And even some days I feel like I got it. I know what it is. And then, a couple of days will go by and I'll get a bit shaky, like I'm not clear. I'm not clear again. I need to meditate. I need to reflect so I can get back in that space of, this is my life purpose. This is my lesson. Because lessons don't stop. So you might have an experience today and think, oh, wow, I got that lesson. I'm done. No, that's an error. Lessons don't ever end. The day that a lesson ends is the day that there's no longer a need for you to be here. Which means you'll be transforming, and you won't be in this particular dimension anymore. So if you're here and you're breathing, you're learning a lesson, or you got lessons to learn. So that's what it's all about. And I was listening to Miz talk, and he said, there's a war going on. And I know a lot of people heard that and they reflected outside of themselves. But the war that is going on is to control your mind. If I can put fear in you, I can paralyze you. You ain't going to do a damn thing. If my objective is for you to never get out of your own way, then my job is to make sure that you're afraid of everything. It's a slick war. It's not an in-your-face war, but it's a war nonetheless. I'm not saying that that's my job. I'm just saying that you have to know who you're dealing with. And a lot of times I hear people calling in and people having conversations, you know, because my ears are always open. I'm always listening. I'm always paying attention. I'm always looking. I'm always just trying to figure, you know, trying to be open so that I get the messages and I hear the still small voice, you know, because I'm here for me. That's all I'm here for. I'm not here for nobody else. I am nobody's leader, and ain't nobody leading me. So I try to keep my ears open and my eyes open for the signs and the symbols that's going to help me so that I can know myself, because that's what this is all about. So, like I said, there's a war going on, and most people heard that, and they reflected outside of themselves. And I listen to people. They think they're being attacked through their phones, through their TV, through their cars, through whatever, you know, people coming up on you. You know what? All of that is ridiculous. Because when it's time for you to transform, it's time for you to transform. And when it's time for you to learn a lesson, it's time for you to learn a lesson. Nothing is going to stop the lesson whatsoever. You can kick, you can scream, you can have a temper tantrum, you can walk around looking over your shoulder for all day long. It's still not going to stop the lesson. So you might as well relax. Get comfortable within yourself. Know that you're in the midst of a lesson. And if there's more lessons to come, then just try to be open to learning what that is you are supposed to learn. And here's a clue. It's a very powerful clue. Prophet even said it. He said, "I come to teach you to love instead of hate." And once again, people get that lesson, and they reflect outside of themselves. Oh, I got to love my brother and my sister and my mother and my father. No, you have to first love yourself. Because most of us, we don't like ourselves. And we're always projecting the self-hate that we have for ourselves onto other people. So he said, I come to teach you to love instead of hate. You better learn to love yourself first, because you can't love nobody else until you first love yourself. You can't give what you don't got. So how do you hear the still small voice? How do you stay open? Always have love in your heart. Regardless of what you receive, see, or hear, always have love in your heart. And you will hear what you're supposed to hear, and you will see what you're supposed to see, so that you can grow and know yourself better. This whole journey is about, it ain't about nothing else. Everything else that comes into your space, your mind, your aura, your whatever, if it's not producing the spirit and feeling of love, then it's designed to keep you from finding yourself. That's the war. And if we listen, if we pay more attention to using the 2 ears that we have to listen and shut the one mouth that we have, we'll hear a lot. That's what it's all about, reflection. So let's see, what is our time like? I got 3 phones, and I still don't know what time it is.
Well, I want to add on to that, too, because you was talking about the war within self, and that still correlates back to what I was saying earlier about it being about the law of nature, because even with the lessons, even if you want to say Yahshua didn't exist, if you want to take that route, the lessons that were left and tailored by Noble Drew Ali for you to get the point, for us all to get the point, is that even Yahshua, when he had to wrestle with his lower self, right, what did it take for him to overcome that? He wasn't in the metropolis. He wasn't in Heliopolis. He had to go to the mountainside. This is what I was saying about connecting back to nature. It's all being part of the law of nature because, you know, we are great and all of that. But until you stand on the mountainside and look out, I mean, and I'm pretty sure there's other views I haven't seen in life, but to see all of those mountains and just you start to feel like an ant in the city. Like, and that's a real fact. And for me to have that experience, and even from the mountain top to the cotton field, to be in these natural environments, the vibration is just crazy. It brings you a whole different view on life. And I'm pretty sure for those who come up in the South and things like that, it's nothing new to them. But what I'm saying is that it all goes back to what I was saying. So about having to be, you know, in correlation or in conjunction with natural environments, because that's really what it is. I mean, you know, people got neighbors they don't like, you know, people are in the same household with people who are shady. And sometimes you need to just get away and get into an environment where it's just natural, where it's not, it's you. You can absorb you, you know. Sometimes you don't get the chance to do that. And you might have all of these great energies and attributes, but your environment might have other energies and attributes which are not harmonic. So it doesn't flow. So you have to get out of that environment into another environment that is more conducive to your peace. And this is the fact, because you feel different ways in different environments. In jail, you feel depressed. Or you might have your head strong, but it's not somewhere you want to be. So you feel a different type of way. You feel trapped because of where you're at, the environment you're in. In nature, you feel free. In the water, you feel however you feel. This is why you have to experience different environments. It's not just in one place, man. It's just, man, it's just mind-boggling. But, yeah, I just wanted to say that correlating to that war within self, what can help heal that, and that is a fact. It's a natural fact that the environments you are in and what's in your environment can, you know, contribute to that conflict. So, you know, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You just got to deal with that. So, for sure, that's the case. Then, outside of you, you got a bunch of people that have to deal with the same conflict, you know? So you have to get on the same vibration to deal with the remedy for the certain things that we're dealing with. Because, like you're saying, you look outside of self, but when you go to talk to people, their whole conversation is the flaws of someone else. So you can't even hold a conversation with them or even talk about elevating self, because the conversation is strictly on the flaws of their brethren or sister, etc. And it's like, yeah, we know that, but we got the remedy for that too. Not that we have it, we just recognize it was already brought. And another thing I want to say is prophecy. that's so deep, right? Because Prophet Noble Jali was the last prophet in these days. Is, you know. However, there's still people who have the ability to prophesize. There's some of us here who, for their own life, you know what I mean, their life has already been prophesized through dreams. It came to them, and they might have ignored it. You know, the message they was receiving in their dream, they didn't know how that would translate into real life, but they missed all the signs that was in those dreams and things like that. So certain things have been prophesized, and we may overlook those prophecies because we were stuck on what Jesus said. You feel me? So if it didn't come from Jesus, it's not true. And that's dangerous too, you know, because now you're denying the multi-dimensions that you exist in. So some dreams stay dreams, some dreams come true, as they say, you know. However, these are messages. There's sisters who are, like melanated sisters, who are prophesizing based off of tarot cards right now. Prophecies off of tarot cards. So, I mean, you still have to look forward to the future, but also keep in mind that all of these things that was in the past that'll be in the future are also in the present. So there's some people who, you know, may not have that recognition, including certain people who might just be listening and just are like, and listening just here to learn right now. They already had prophecies in their lives that have come true. They had dreams or messages through you know, that have come true. I know it's real. So, you know, like, prophecy is not something that stops in time. It's something that's always looking forward to the future and is affirmed, right? And then once it's affirmed, you see and you watch for the other prophecies that was already, you know, proclaimed or pronounced. And then you see these things manifest. And then other people have the same abilities. They might not be, quote, leaders, like you said. I wouldn't say they're on the level of a Noble Jali, quote, unquote. But then I couldn't say that, you know, people are not born with those attributes anymore either. Like, you know, though they come rare few, it's still out there. It's still a part of our genetics. It's still a part of our ancestral makeup where these people will still manifest. Like, because like you said, Prophet Noble Jali wasn't the, quote, first prophet, but the last prophet in those days when he, you know what I mean? We're talking 1920s, you know, 1886, 1920s, you know what I mean, to 29. So we're in a different, quote, century, but prophecies are still coming true today. But what I'm saying is that you think he wasn't using astrology to predict certain things? Come on, like, this was all he told you. He was telling you about this. Like, so what I'm saying is the source of that type of existence can still manifest. It might be a sister right now building, you know, in the room right now about to manifest one. Who knows? Who knows? There may be some more here. Who knows? But what I'm saying is that attribute is something that we can't leave out of our culture, you know, as if, like, there will never be another one, and we're going to wait for him to come back, like how they did Jesus almost. Like, they're like, oh, he like, there's nothing else, we're just waiting for him to return type of mentality. Like, that's not it. You feel me? Like, their lessons were perpetual. They already still back. If you get where I'm coming from. They're already back. They're already here because what they did in the past for the future is still present today. We're still having these conversations about their lessons because they're relevant. And they are prophecies that we could see come true. But not just that, social reformations. So, again, yeah, you're right. It's about that war within self and aligning back with nature. And then when you do that, you have to realize that, there's something that's so far greater than any one of us on this earth plane right now that manifests. It's something more supreme, like that laid this foundation. Even if you want to say it's us, we did it before we got here. It's still an intangible force that's real, that manifests. So with that being said, I respectively yield the floor. Wow.
There's silence, or is it me? Can you hear?
Islam, yeah.
You're there,
Yeah,
right? Did Sister Annie drop out?
Oh, I'm not sure. I thought I yielded the floor. I did yield the floor, but I'm not sure it was good. But
You did yield the floor, but I'm just concerned. Wait a minute.
Because yeah.
Yeah, hold on a moment. Let me see.
Yeah. So even when we look back.
Right. You know what? Yeah. I'm sorry. I apologize. I just got a text from her, so we need to just hold on for 1 second. Well, we won't hold on. We will continue. But I thought that something happened, but she's all right. But you yielded the floor on what you're speaking on now. So while we wait for her to get something together there, I think we're going to be going into, let me see, what time is it? Oh, that we got a few more minutes to continue to share some information. And you know what I'm going to do at this time? Just real briefly, because there were some people, and this is in Nature's Law also, that was asking questions about Easter. So I'm just going to, it could be a whole class, but I'm just going to brief it real fast here and show people just how much of the lies and deceit and how we've been living in these lies and deceits without knowledge of the source of their establishment as it pertains to the celebration of Easter. It's very interesting, and I know you know about this, Liz. It's very interesting because we know that the Nicene Council, on their second meeting, I believe it was 785 BC? Well, anyway, they BC. They had a meeting to determine when they would celebrate Easter. And they determined that they would celebrate Easter the first Sunday after the first full moon of what they said is spring or spring equinox. In reality, people, what they're doing is they're celebrating nature's new year and croaking it as Easter Day or Easter Sunday. That's essentially what they're doing because, all of us have been celebrating in the past January 1, which is a fiscal new year, has nothing to do with nature's new year. I think we understand that now or understand that now. But the reason they met was to determine when they were going to acknowledge it, but without being on the same rhythm or natural order of nature. Because it is, but yet, the most interesting thing, this is what we tell people, all religions are all based on astrology. All of them. So even with that being a very supposedly religious day, what are they honoring? They're honoring the fecundity of woman, of Venus, of the Eastern Star. When you go into the secret societies, they're going to call her Esther, Venus, Mayat, Isis, what's the other one? I can't remember. But all of those, they're all feminine energy, and it's all really dealing with the fact that when the new year comes in, it's the new birth and new growth of everything on the earth, which then you can get a little further, because I was trying to explain it, and then I realized, wait a minute. All right, well, it's like, well, what happens? Well, the only thing that really happens is that the equinox that brings in the new year on March 21st, 22nd, depending on what side of Earth you're on, and that actually marks the new year and the new growth to prove it. And so without saying they are celebrating the new year, they decided to choose one day. Now, what's interesting, and call it Easter, or Venus, or Astarte. What's interesting is that they chose like I said, they chose this first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox, which is nature's new year, because that's when, as you just noticed, after the first full moon, after spring, that's when all the buds really blossomed out, right? They really, really blossomed out. Now, and this is also why, here's proof in the pudding, why you may be asking yourself, why does Easter fall on different times? Because that's what they based it on. Example, if the full moon in March, usually the full moon has already happened before March 21st. So that's not a full moon considered after the equinox, after the spring. That's not the first one, because usually you don't have the full moon coming after March 21st. But if there was a full moon for March that came after March 21st, that's why the very next Sunday after that, that is why you may have Easter a week early. So it's just a symbolic thing that was established to honor or acknowledge the new year, or the new birth, or fecundity, which is related directly to the womb of all things, to all feminine things. So they have to come away from anything feminine, definitely not gear you towards that, but yet that's what's happening at the same time. So I just thought I would take a minute to share that, and I believe that we can get back on track with our presentation.
Islam.
Islam, there you are.
Islam, all right. Thank you for that. And we'll be talking more about that on Sunday, Sister Standing on Law, so make sure and join us. And let's see. At this time, it is 11:07, and what we're going to do is we're going to begin to take callers. So if you have a comment, question, or concern, and you'd like to put it on the table, please press 1 on your telephone dial, and we'll take the callers in order that we receive them. So our first caller is caller 212-390. You're live on the air.
Yes, greetings to the listening family and to the host. How are y'all? How are y'all doing tonight? All right. I wanted to share something with the listening family and everybody. You ever heard of Twilight Zone? That old series that used to come on?
Yep.
There's a good show that everybody should check out that was a part of that series called Serving Man. That is like a good thing to show the people what's going on in the world that we live in, and that they were being warned about how they treat the people on this native earth that we live on, and how to treat it. And I think that's what's actually going on right now, that we're going through the phases that we're going through right now on this planet with all these different entities that, have came here and invaded us on our American soil. So it's like a listening and it's like a learning process. We all going through this growing process. That's why one of the main things we need to start doing as a family, if we can at least discipline ourselves to make it a known fact that we need to sit down every night before we get ready to go off to sleep and do some type of breathing exercises and just sleep on through meditation. So when you wake up in the next day, you'll feel magnificently different and you'll feel much better. And you meditate one more time when you wake up first thing in the morning, so your whole day could go peaceful, loving, harmonious, and to protect you from all the ill wills that are, moving around out here in the universe. Because right now, everybody's going to be tried, whether you good or bad. That's a part of nature. Nature doesn't just shine its sunlight on the just and the unjust. It's just shining its light. So we all got to take this in consideration, that we need to slow it down and start getting back to the proper principles that go along with who we are as people from nature. Meditation is the key, and we all need to start doing that more so than ever. So I just wanted to share that with the listening family, and I yield the floor. It's long.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much.
It's long. What show did he say, though? I didn't hear the show that he was saying.
Twilight?
Oh, Twilight Zone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's all in mine, too. Yeah. All right.
All right, our next caller is caller 561403. You are on the air.
Islam, peaceful greetings, family. How are you?
Great.
Islam?
Yes. Oh, Islam. We said peace, so maybe you didn't hear us. Yes.
I apologize. I didn't hear you, mothers. I apologize, but Excuse me for sounding a bit sluggish this evening, but I am feeling a bit under the weather. But I wanted to say thank you to Brother Miss Raheem for what he touched on earlier about how you can be such a loving and genuine person on the inside, but your environment, the energies and environment that you're around can heavily influence outcome of, a lot of things in one's life. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, because that's exactly what my position is. I just recently, me and my Moor buddies just recently moved up near the Federal Corporation at Washington State Republic. And I before we moved here, I hadn't ever even been on this side of the country. And I must say, because I'm originally from near the city of Memphis Corporation, Tennessee Republic, and I must say the environment out there was, I'm trying to think of I would just say hellish, I guess, for lack of an even worse term, because it's oh my God, I don't know where to begin with that, but it was very crazy out there. And me being of sound mind and of a good natured-hearted person, I even felt out of place because I was born and raised there, and all my life I felt out of place there, and even this time here before my boy Bodies and I moved out here, I was kidnapped, and I was taken to the jail out there for fraudulent charges I had absolutely nothing to do with when viewing it from the subject matter. But I saw that as a sign to me that I needed to get away from there. Like, no matter how good I am at heart, I recognized this fact that the energy around me was causing a lot of strife and a lot of chaos around me. You know what I mean? I didn't want to succumb to those effects, but yet I was affected by, the energy. And needless to say, I'm so glad I made the move, because now I feel like I'm in an environment where I can be totally open, not just with others, but with myself mostly, because I'm so free-minded now. You know what I mean? Like, out here's a lot of trees, it's a lot of nature. You know what I mean? It's a lot of greenery. You know what I mean? And when I first got here, I absolutely fell in love. Like, I felt right at home. Like, where have you been all my life type feeling? You know what I mean? And when I first got here, I even still do it. I'll go on some of the trails and soak up the sun and the trees and the grass, just the energies from the nature that I didn't get to enjoy back home. And in my experience today, I always remain humble because of that. Even from the perspective of caring for myself inwardly, like I even look to nature for that, for peace and serenity. And I just wanted to say I appreciate it, brother. Ms. Raim, you hit the nail on the head, man. You did. You were exactly right about that, and I'm so grateful that I did make that move. Because had I not, I think it would have resulted in my, what we know or what we call death today. I think that was the next step, because I've been through so much out there, and I met this extraordinary man out there too, who is now to this day my godfather. And he used to tell me all the time, son, talking to you, it's like a breath of fresh air. He's like, you have a light in you, a spirit about you that I have yet to see in anybody else in this city. This is before I moved here near the Washington State Republic. And he's like, just talking to you and hearing your thoughts. He's like, it's so refreshing, because all you hear, near the city of Memphis Corporation, the brothers and the sisters out there, our people are sick out there, like really. And I understood exactly where he came from when he was telling me that. I didn't boast about it. I humbly accepted it. And I'm very much appreciative for all that he's taught me as well. Because he helped assist me in a lot of things in my life that needed to be looked upon, and changes that needed to be made within, my life to succeed in whatever endeavor I choose to embark upon. And I'm just grateful for all the people that, were around my life when I was there, and the ones who are, who are here in my life now and have such a great influence. And I just want to say I appreciate you all, family. Like one in any or some shape, form, or fashion, you all have an impact on me. I reverence you all, and I do feel your energy, and it's very strong. Just want to encourage you all to keep pushing forward, keep going, no matter what. With that, I yield the floor.
Islam, thank you so much.
Islam.
Yes,
Islam.
This is another thing too, right? And not to hold anything from the callers, but we here and we can have. Huh?
Well, before you start, we actually don't have anyone else with their hands up. So if there's anyone who has a question, comment, or concern, press 1 on your telephone dial, and we'll take another round of calls. Continue.
Word. That's what's good. Well, I trust some callers call in. But maybe we could go in on this conversation, right? Because from my experience, socially, shall I say, and I don't want to say not experiment, just experience, that I know we're all Moors, whether there's Moors who think that they're Negro, black, and color and are under that particular spell, for whatever reason, they can't receive the light. Maybe they haven't read a good spell or a Gnostic spell to break the bad spell that they've been under, because we know the written word that's spelling. So when we're reading these Gnostic texts, such as the Circle 7 and things of that nature, we're breaking spells. Like, that's what's happening mentally. When we proclaim and declare our nationality, that's breaking the spell of being Negro, black, and colored. And though our people, no matter what condition they're in, have amazing attributes that are natural, they're just naturally, genetically there because they are Moors, regardless to whether they know it or not. This is something that's just is in our people. However, their mentality may be different than the Moor who knows that they're Moor, if you get what I'm saying. Meaning we'll be able to relate to different conversations, meaning that someone who's not privy to Noble Drew Ali will be enlightened by a conversation about his works and teachings, whereas we speak and we already know. So, like, if I'm not mistaken, everybody on this line knows that it's a lesson in the Circle 7 that speaks about the business of men being reflection, correct? Right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know that. I know you know that, right? So we know that. We can relate to that concept. Now, my thing is, I want to ask this to all of us, if we can have this discussion. For somebody, because in even correlating to the callers before about reflection and meditation and being in that zone and realizing, even correlating this with the Circle 7 Chapter 1, right, where it talks about time being an artificial concept, right, because time never was when man was not. And that's because time is a concept man created, right, or the mind created, whether, this is what it is. But so we might be able to understand those aspects of existence that, it is what it is. However, where is this line drawn at between being about your business or reflection and being a quote-unquote narcissist? Do you have anything to say about that? Whereas they say that a narcissist is one who is interested in themselves or has admiration of themselves and things of that nature. And you might be about your reflection, understanding you got to cut certain things off. But with that, where would you say it's a distinguishment between being in that meditative zone and then being perceived as a, quote, narcissist, all about self, etc.? Do you say it's a line in between that? If so, what's your description of it? That's for anybody.
Well, you got the definition of narcissist, because there is a line and a balance between the two. When you're saying that they're thinking of themselves, that would be a extreme unbalance of their self. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a balance between everything. Because remember, we each one of us has a higher and lower self, so that's what we need to be concentrating on in that respect. So even when you say you're thinking of yourself, you're thinking of at least two selves with that to balance. But I think a narcissist would be one who is total extreme of self, and with that comes arrogance, but not excellence with arrogance, just arrogance. And with that, it's easily delved into the lower self-activity, which benefits not even them themselves. Because, in other words, you can the question is, I guess, and this was made clear. Brother Hakeem had said this on the show, and it made a lot of sense to me. Is that yes, we have two selves, and the lower self is an excellent servant, but a terrible master. So, if any of us are with an extreme of that, you know what I mean, like with an extreme, and choose the lower self, because without knowledge of the higher self. See, I think that makes the difference there. So we're all dealing with two selves, period, right? When we say that we're here for ourselves, and that is first and foremost, because if we're not able to deal with ourselves, which are two selves, and we deal with here's interesting. If we deal with the lower self activity in extreme without acknowledgement of the higher self, then we're in big trouble. But if you're able to deal with your higher self, you have already overcome the lower self. And I know that may sound a little whatever, but it's just so true. Because the lower self will constantly, in arrogance and narcissism and all that, it's keep it within yourself instead of outside of yourself. That will already demolish the higher self. You can't get to the higher self. You will never be able to blend the two. But if you have gotten to the higher self, you have already mastered the lower self. So you can't get to the higher self without mastering the lower self. So with that being said, now when you come outside of that and you encounter with people socially who have been tagged as narcissists or whatever, so now these same people who have never mastered their lower self, have never balanced their two selves themselves, now here they are showing up. And the only thing that can be said is narcissism, because selfishness to the extreme is not one of the things that is of a higher self activity. So it's clear that they haven't mastered self of themselves, of their two selves. And so it shows up like that. And they are leaning on an extreme, on the lower self stuff, and that's what shows up. That's what shows up. So someone who shows up in their higher self has already, again, mastered the lower self, and you wouldn't call them a narcissist just because you wouldn't call them a narcissist at all, because they wouldn't show up like that. They would show up in full. They will show up already having balanced their own selves before they show up to someone else. So those who have not done that, this is where the statement is, others see you more plainly when. I used to say others see you more plainly than you see yourself, but the actual quote is others see you more plainly when you do not see yourself. That's when you're seeing more plainly. And I think I kind of just explained it, because they're showing up with just that lower self and to be on it. So yes, there is a line between self-preservation, and that polarity is shown in the Aries Libra, which, by the way, we just had that Aries Libra moon, and I know Pink Moon, and I know that inspired a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, to reflect on these things, because it's really about self, right? Because the Aries is totally self, and the Libra is usually others, and so a perfect blend of the two is what helps with that balance. And that's what just came over on the earth plane, if you will, from the cosmos, for everyone to check and see and reflect. And so many of us was feeling some sense of insecurity, some sense of, I've got to make, I keep beating my head up against the wall, and the same dang on thing keeps happening. It had you to look into that. But all changes do not come from someone else. All changes that must be made with you, not the other person that you might, or the other self, if you will, that you may be complaining about. Because they got a higher and lower self too. So do you. So that's where you get that. You're looking at the splinter in someone else's eye, and you got a damn splinter. A log in your own type thing. But you will never see the log, because you can't see yourself, because you're not doing reflection. So that's a perfect example of projecting out like that. So saying all that to say is that yes, there is a balance. That's what Mayat is. That's what the scales are. That's what it is. And then when you relate that to the body, as far as signs and symbols, you got the kidneys right there in the center, where they do flush out the water. What waters? Waters of knowledge, pure waters. Information is represented by knowledge. So the first information that you must have is to know yourself, higher and lower. That's that point from the north of the body to the south. That's the dividing line right there, and that's the balance that must be made. So that's my take on it. It's mine.
You know, in the metaphysical arena, what you just described is, I can't remember what they call it. It's a reflection, but I think it's like a mirror. And when I first years ago read about it, was a bit unnerving for me because it was a revelation. And basically, what in metaphysics it says that if you encounter someone, doesn't matter how the encounter goes, and you find yourself getting angry or like exhibiting anything less than positive, feelings, they are, how does it go? The reason you have this extreme or animosity, anger, or whatever, feeling towards that person is because your subconscious mind is seeing in them things that you need to address in yourself. I hope I explained that well. And so the key for self-reflection and self-growth is when you feel yourself getting angry or upset with someone else, stop and look within yourself. Stop and look within yourself to discover what, because they really, we look at people who we call it rubbing you the wrong way. We look at people who rub us the wrong way, and we're like, oh, I'm never going to have an encounter with them. I'm never going to spend time. I don't want to talk to them. Totally cut ourselves off from that person. But that person is a gift to us. Their mission was to get you to see yourself. And that's why the reaction that you have towards them is so intense, because that's life or nature's way of getting you to stop and look at yourself. Because those types of reactions are not normal. It really isn't. They're really not normal. That's not how we used to function. We lived peaceful and harmonious. So now, if you're not exhibiting peace and harmony, then you're experiencing something contrary to peace and harmony. That is life's way of saying stop and look at yourself. Don't look at them. See, modern Europeans have us looking at the person who's trying to tell us something in a nonverbal way. Modern Europe, because this is a science. So we get all caught up in trying to, crucify the messenger instead of receiving the message. And it's a beautiful way. Nature is just amazing because it's a beautiful way for us to acknowledge or reflect on self without feeling like somebody, is, because sometimes people can't take what they call constructive criticism or any type of criticism. And really, you know what? There's no need for criticism because everybody is here to learn a lesson. You're either going to learn a lesson or you're going to spend your life trying to recognize and acknowledge that you have a lesson in front of you. But one way or another, the lesson is going to be learned. You know, and this is another reason why, you know, we as a people, we need to get out of this, we need a council of people to judge the actions of someone else. We don't need that. If we were studying the Quran as well as the Bibliothek, says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. You got to know what the Lords are. Ain't just one, it's a bunch of Lords. It's a planetary energy. That is saying is whatever you throw out is going to come back to you. Hope when it comes back, it is peace and love. Because if it's anything else, that's your lesson. A lot of our problem is we get in front of the boomerang on the way back to the sender, and because we get so self-righteous, and we want to tell everybody about themselves, we need to focus on ourselves and, you know, get out of the I'm going to tell you about yourself business. That's not our place. That's what life is all about, for people catch themselves. So we get into the blame business, get in front of the boomerang that's coming back to the sender, and we get clipped by the boomerang because we had no business trying to mess around in other people's lessons that we don't know anything about. So, I mean, if we really study cosmology, it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. If you truly study cosmology, trust and believe, you will realize that you do not have to tell nobody about themselves because it's their lesson. So if you move away from that and you get into the cosmology of yourself, you will never lift your head up long enough to get into somebody else's business because cosmology will consume you. You will want to find yourself so badly. And what is presented to you will be so amazing. Like whenever I feel like my life is off kilter, I go pull up, you know, the astrology wheel or for myself to see if I can figure something out. And yes, I can call Roz, and she can try, and she can explain it to me, but I want to be able to look at it and figure it out and try to make sense because it's going to continually happen. Because the planet and everything is always moving. We're moving always in cycles. So at every different cycle, you're going to be having a new experience. And to be honest with you, is the reason why, you know, Roz has done these classes and written these books on astrology is so that you can pick up that astrology book, spin that wheel at any given time, and figure out what's going on in your life, why it's going on, when is it going to end, because that's a beautiful thing. It shows you when it's going to, because things are always moving in cycles. So something can come in and be, you know, not so great, but the great thing is because things are always moving, you can see when it's going to pass away. And you can also pick up some clues as to how to deal with it, what you're supposed to be learning from it. What is it that you're resisting in terms of your growth that's exasperating what is going on. The wheel is an amazing thing. It's our guide. And so, we need to look at that for ourselves because that's what it's there for. If you're a Moor or you're alleged to be a declared Moor, then by default you're a Moorish scientist. If you're a Moorish scientist and you ain't spinning that wheel at least once, and any time things feel like they're off kilter, then you being a Moor declared, meaning it's questionable.
Mm-hmm. You know what I like that you said, Islam? You know what I like that you said? You said, oh gosh, I should have put a note on it. Looking at something you said about looking at other people and not really understanding them or their lessons. A lot of this, you're right, it has to do with the mindset in which we have been indoctrinated into. Yeah, absolutely. Like, counseling. Counseling is astrology to begin with, And so if that is not even done with, then how can anyone, really, how can you really receive counseling without someone who has understanding of that? And I'm not saying that there aren't people who may call themselves counselor or whatever like that, but counsel is counsel. What kind of counsel? It's not just, it's not just counsel on jurisdiction matters. It's not. It's counsel on, counseling someone. But it's interesting because you said it and it hit me. It's like, looking at people or making judgments or whatever, and you don't even really understand them. How could you? At first, you got to understand yourself, right? And the principles. I mean, they don't change. They're not going to change just because you may want them to. And so, like I was saying earlier, the Aries Taurus polarity is about self and others. I mean, the Aries Libra polarity is about self and others. And so then the second polarity is the Taurus Scorpio, which is about desires, what you desire, knowing what you want and your needs, knowing the difference between what you want, what you need, and what you desire. It's a trinity right there. You can desire something. Is it what you need, or is it just what you want? You know what I mean? And so you learn that polarity. You know what I'm saying? But it's very important, and to get to talk about this because, like we just said, that pink moon still has its effects on people right now, and especially if you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the foundation to even understand the energy that's coming through that you're feeling, because everyone is talking about it and saying, everyone I've talked to in the past since before this, including myself, I had to get realigned myself, because I felt those energies coming in real strong. And then, once I really, realigned and saw what was really coming down the line, I clearly and fully understood it. But you're right, and you also mentioned about transgression, or transgress chart they call it. People, how to predict the future. It's all in where the energies. Remember, the energies the circumstances are there for you to change them or not. But I had, and I may have told this story before, but I had a friend that was born with 3 different planets in their house of partnerships, which is the Libra house. And all of their life, they always had 3 different mates or girlfriends or whatever, until they reached a certain time in their life, already predestined, to happen. What was predestined? What was predestined is that at the time that they started feeling, they disconnected all of those relationships and they felt like they wanted to just go inward and meditate, and they had actually come into some science knowledge, but it was predestined to happen. So when they disconnected all 3, now the interesting thing is that all 3 of the different mates they had, or girlfriends or whatever they had at the time, they all were fit the character of the planets that was in the house. all those years. But when they got the feeling to disconnect from all of that and drop all their girlfriends and start meditating within themselves and, higher knowledge and, elevating themselves, it was the same time. Because just most of these were outer planets, so they moved slower. It was the same time that all three, we looked at the chart, all three of those planets had transgressed out of the seventh house. And this just takes years. How do we know? Because a day is a year when you're looking at, from the Gregorian calendar. 1 day or degree and day is the same thing. So 1 day is a year. So if you're born on April the 22nd, 1987, if you want to know what was going on a year later, it would be April the 23rd, 1987, and go look at that chart. So that's how slow it progressed, but that every movement makes a difference because it makes a different aspect to another planet that's also moving on its cycle. But that year, all three planets had moved out, or during that course of the year, all three had moved out of that seventh house, and this is why their inclinations to drop all of relationships happened at that time. And so when that happened, it was very mind-blowing, but it's very real because those energies changed in that fashion. So, and you can do, as the prophet said, backwards to the ages, masterminds, trace themselves. Thus, they know you really want to know what happened to you when you were 7 or 13 or whatever. Just use that method and see what the energy was that may have impacted some activity. So now what I'm saying, I think I made it sound simple, and it is simple, but it's not simple if you don't have the foundation in the first place, to be able to track this or to deal with it. Some people do look at it in a different way or whatever like that, or they figure it out. I mean, I know there's people who plot by hand and all of that, because that's the old way of doing it. So, so this is, it's very, very real. So now I watched this show that I love. I love Ayan La. Fix My Life, right? I'm an advocate for her as counseling. I don't know all that she knows. I can only know what she shows up with. You know what I'm saying? And, it always goes back to what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago. My first relationship, my second relationship, my first marriage, my second marriage, my mama, my daddy, my sisters, my brothers, whatever. All of that is what makes you who you are as an experience. And if we didn't come out of that experience with the right counsel or the right perspective by leaving the bad behind but knowing that it's there and moving forward with the good, then we bring all that with us. Erica Badu said it best, like the baggage, right? And we bring that with us. And yes, it does make us who we are, but it's not that you had the experience. It's what you got out of it that you learned from. Now, if we do not learn from the experience, then that's where you're saying we're constantly looking for someone else to be the fix for what already happened that you didn't fix yourself, but yet you look for someone else to fix it. Can't happen because we have to be aware that we're bringing that with us. And we're still in that same, like if we're still in that same time frame and we're always saying, well, this happened to me, and you're saying I never got over it. You can share the experience, but if you can't share the experience and share the positive lesson that you learned from the experience, then you did not have a healthy experience. You did not assimilate it in a healthy manner at all. And you then bring that, and you bring that into whatever else you may be doing. But the biggest thing is, all that is saying is this, and you just said it. If you're looking at someone and you're waiting, wanting them to change, that's called beating your head up against the wall. It's not them that has to change, it's you. Is it? And so the beauty of that is that upon that, then the doors open, but they will never open. Because even if they did open, you wouldn't be able to go. Even if the opportunity knocked on the door, and that's the sad part. The opportunity, people say we wait for the opportunity. So even if it knocks on the door, you can't open it because you can't hear the knock because you're too busy, in something else that you don't see it. It's for those who have eyes to see, ears to listen, etc. like that. And so you don't see it when it comes because you're still totally wrapped up into not having a full experience and learning that lesson to bring forth a better you. And now we can go into the insecurity of it, the pain of it, the unsurety of it. But that's the whole thing about doors opening. When one closes, the other opens. So if we never close the door, we can never open the next door because it's a journey. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
So, can we ask you this question? Let me ask this. Right? Now, what would you say about how that affects, like, the people you choose to be around, how that affects those types of situations? Because you might say, well, it's not the person, it's you. You need to look at you, and that may be very well true. So, and it usually is, right? But now let's say, why is it, stressing the importance of being around, quote unquote, like-minded individuals, right? Like that right? Because, okay, you might want to hang out with some people, but let's say you're a vegetarian. They want to go to the chicken wing shop. So, you're like, okay, well, y'all kind of cool, but I don't eat chicken wings, but I'm going to go with y'all. And when you go to the spot, something happens that's on the chicken wing vibration. And then you like, yeah. You know what I mean? No, real talk. So now you like, fuck, if I would have just never been around these people because I'm doing something it's not what I do, you feel me? But sometimes you might, do something out of the norm. Would you still say that's your fault for, quote unquote, hanging with people not on your same vibration?
Well,
let's say a fight break out. Let's say a fight break out. You might be at a cold bar or something, and something just stupid happened, and you're in the middle of something that you would never usually be in. But because you just decided to, this is what happened. Whose fault? Like, would you say that's still your fault, right, for hanging out with the wrong? Or can you even say that, or is that an experience?
But it's not a situation of right or wrong. It is about the energy. It's all about the energy. So if you, this is what I have experienced in my life. When you start to make change to yourself, those people who are not on the same vibration, they're just going to disappear.
That's right.
You don't have to remove yourself, and they don't have to. It just, the energy just is not the same. They are going to disappear. You don't have to tell them, hey, I can't hang out with you no more. They won't be calling you, and you won't be calling them. It's just, that's how strong the energy is. Like when I decided to, when I decided to make changes to myself, and this was before I even came into this information, I didn't necessarily, I wouldn't say I had a lot of friends, but if I felt like it, I would hang out with a group of girls, and there probably was things that they did that I didn't do, things that I do that they don't do. But what I have found is that because a lot of our people, they are under the Christian crusade mental enslavement.
Yes.
They're doing a lot of things that really ought not to be done. They're hanging out in bars. They're drinking too much. They're smoking too much. They're just in and out of one relationship after another, and and all of this is promoted by modern Europeans, and we're mentally conditioned to fall into that. When you start making change to yourself, what happens, this has been my experience, I'm just speaking from my experience, it's almost as though they're uncomfortable being around you.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing the same crazy things that they used to do.
What about when they start talking about you badly because they can't understand? Oh, you think you're this, and a lot of times they'll make their exit with slander. They make their exit with slander.
Well, that could happen. It could happen that way, or it could happen and they just disappear. They're just no longer there. But I can tell you one thing: if it's an exit with slander, the reaction parties involved is the lesson.
Yes, it is.
That's
right.
the lesson.
That's
because, if two people decide, they start to change, and for whatever reason, they get angry about the separation. Now, the one that is, so to speak, is throwing the dagger, that person has a lesson to learn. But how the person is receiving the dagger is a lesson as well.
Yes.
Because, see, another thing that we've been mentally conditioned to do by modern Europeans is respond to everything that is either presented or asked of us. We have this absolute need to respond. Some questions don't even deserve a response. Because you're bigger, you're above that. And
but
really, and also, this is your lesson. It's nobody else's business. They're not going to be able to. And if they're in that lower mentality place, they're not going to understand it, even if you try to explain it to them, which makes it a waste of time and energy, which brings us to the parable of why throw pearls to swine. I'm not saying people are swine. I just want to clear. I'm not saying people are swine. But we have picked up the behavior of the swine.
The swine.
All right? And we wear it as if it is our own. It is not.
Right. That's right. Well, I was going to say that the other thing to look at, a friend of mine told me something and it makes sense. Some friends are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So, in reference to this, sometimes it's cool to be around each other or people for what reason? To learn the lesson. So if you can be around what we're saying is, at odds, or not at odds, but different whatever vibrations. Well, it might be just to learn a lesson and move on from that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that it's all bad or whatever like that. It's a lesson to be learned, and then you're thankful for every single lesson and move on.
Exactly. And you know what? Here's a lesson, or here's a food for thought. Because I can't give lessons. But they already have their lessons before they got here. But here's a food for thought. In the chapter 1 of the Holy Quran, it tells you man is mind.
Mm-hmm.
Man is mind. So just on a simple overview perspective, everybody's lesson is to always remain at a place of peace, calm, and love, regardless of what appears to be going on around you. And I say what appears to be going on around you, because if man is mind, what is going on around you is a manifestation of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if you stay at a place of peace, calm, and love, and you maintain it, at some point, your surroundings are going to have to reflect that peace, calm, and love that is going on inside of you. Because your outer world will be in direct proportion to your inner world. But the key to this whole thing is chapter 1. Man is mind.
Yes.
We're not
Now,
slaves to things. We're the master of things. We're not slaves to things. We're the master of things.
And that leads me to ask this question. I'm sorry, I know last we checked we didn't have any callers. This is a conversation I just really would like to hear.
We actually got 3 or 2 callers now.
Okay.
We should take them then. They may have something to add. All right.
All righty. Well, our next caller is Sister Jayana, I believe. Is that you? Yes, it is.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Hey, peace and love. I said no because I was thinking about so much. It was so much said that I don't know where to begin. I wanted to initially just call in and say it was a great class and just say that I thank you guys for speaking on this class about self and just to send some love and energy and also to reach out to Mother Roz because she's just been in my spirit lately and I don't know why. So just sending some good love, energy.
Thank you. I got your email. Go ahead.
Okay, great.
Can I speak?
Who's that? Who's that speaking?
Oh yeah. Oh wait. Okay. So I invited a brother. He was three weighed in.
All right.
I had originally invited him because you guys were talking about traveling, and I had wanted him to speak on his to share his story about his travel, him being able to travel without his passport. And I totally forgot he was on.
Oh, that's a great topic. You forgot he was here. You got so involved. That's why he said, she forgot all about. But listen, that would be great because I've just got several emails about that and people not realizing, before to preface this with the fact that a national identification card and the road travel or the travel card that we have is not a passport. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Brother Abdul, introduce yourself and just tell them where you're from, and if you don't mind, could you share that story of how you got home without using a passport, please?
All right.
Yes, assalam. Peace to everybody.
Yeah.
My name is Abdul. I'm from Central African Republic originally. I've been in the United States for almost 15 years. But actually tonight I'm not going to share the history about me traveling.
We want to hear it.
I just want to thank the lady that was speaking. It has been 2 months I've been battling with something very hard in me. My little brother got killed his life was taken by somebody that was in Africa. And just the way I knew most of the stuff that you're talking about because I was taught all my life to live a certain way. But the past 2 months, actually, all I've been thinking about is vengeance. Is actually to go back and do what I have to do. I even put my life on hold, knowing that I'm living as a dead person right about now. Because I know it's a saying that if you think about vengeance, you have to dig 2 holes. And I actually dig one for myself already. I'm sorry. And I knew what you was talking about, and the one thing that you say is that Quran, which I have read, is that they're my creature. They are mine to deal with. Leave me with my creature, what I have created. And vengeance is to me.
Yes.
And whatever you put up there, you will reap it.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. And let me say this while he pulls himself together. I want to say this because he picked up on when I said wants, desires, and needs on the Taurus Scorpio. And people have heard me say this before, but exactly what he's saying is the Taurus is symbolized in the Taurus Scorpio polarity when it says vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Brother, please hear this. That is a fact, because whoever did an injustice to you or to your brother, the avenging angels or angles of light or angles of energy is going to take care of it. But if you, my brother, are in the way when they come to do so, because you seek vengeance, then you dishonor, not only do you dishonor that, but you also get in the way, and you yourself will get that as well. Definitely the lesson. It's symbolized in the Taurus Scorpio, because the Scorpio likes to get revenge. The Taurus won't let go, and both of them, I talked about this just today, both of them are really holding on to the same thing in a different way. All right? One having the patience to plot for vengeance. So, yes, brother, you're all right. I hope that, I'm glad that this.
Thank you.
You are so
You made me think about a whole lot. I just needed that little voice. As the Lord said, the whisperer and the one that whispers. The whisperer is the creature that we don't see, and the whisperer is the one that we see, actually a human being.
Yes.
And you have whispered that thought, and me, it was the reason why I was on this phone today. It texted me, Janelle, to invite me. Nothing happened for no reason. Everything happened for a reason in life. And all day today, all I've been thinking about, even though I already got my airplane ticket and preparing for it, just that little talk, that little voice that you have put in me today actually give me different outlook on different things that I have to sit down and think about it now. Because vengeance is not mine. It's his.
It's long.
It's long. Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Yes,
see, here we go. We do things for different reasons, and it's something else always. The universe always works, and marvelous. That's just beautiful. I want to. Oh my God, that's just beautiful. I want to share something too, because of what he just shared, and it's I guess I want to say a passage from this book I've been reading called The Master Key System, and it's just to add on to everything that's been said tonight. And it says that it is the law which makes the universe one grand piano of harmony, If it were not for law, the universe would be of chaos instead of cosmos. Here, then, is the secret of the origin of both good and evil. This is all the good and evil there ever was or ever will be. Let me illustrate. Thought results in action. If your thought is constructive and harmonious, the result will be good. If your thought is destructive or inharmony or disharmony, the result will be evil. This is therefore but one law, one principle, one cause, one source of power. And good and evil are simply words which have been coined to indicate the results of our actions or our compliance or non-compliance with the law or with this law. The importance of this is well illustrated in the lives of Emerson and Charlie. Emerson loved the good, and his life was symbolized of peace and harmony. Charlie hated bad, and his life was a record of discord and inharmony. We have two grand men, each intent upon achieving the same ideal, but one makes use of constructive thoughts, and it is therefore in harmony with natural law, and the other makes use of void of every kind and character. It is evident, therefore, that we are to hate nothing, not even the bad, because hatred is destructive, and we shall soon find that by entertaining destructive thoughts, we are sowing the wind, and in turn shall reap the whirlwind.
Beautiful. Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes. Now, I know we got to thank the brother. He might not be in a condition right now. Like he said, his spirit said he's not even going to talk about how he travels without a passport. However, he does. And that's fine if he doesn't want to discuss that this time. Maybe next time, unless you want to share something brief on it in his stead, Sister Jayana, because I've been having a lot of people email about that. And the first thing I do is when they say, something to the effect of this travel card takes the place of the passport. Well, the first thing I'm going to say to them is the travel card and or the nationality card, because the nationality card really can be used as a traveling card because it identifies your all substantive rights and liberties, of which the right to travel is one. So you could say, well, I don't really need a travel card then if I know how to exercise with my nationality card, and that be true. However, we know that the more identifications you have in your Moorish jurisdiction, the better off it is, because in law, it's like if you don't have the ID that whoever prefers, as long as you have a second ID, it by law must be accepted. So any one of those two could be that. But so the first thing I want them to know is, look, this is not a passport. A passport is for ships to pass the port, of which the modern Europeans had to have, which is what the banner was, that is and always was and always will be the Star-Spangled Banner with the song in tow and all. However, they have made us believe that it's some sort of national flag. It's not. There's a difference between the two because they're occupying on the land. And that goes back to what Anna-Eda is saying, is that when they fall again, I get likely to be on the 29th of April, maybe it will become so clear to us that we're not dealing with authority of jurisdiction that has anything to do with us. We're dealing with a group of people who are operating on this land and who have tricked us into believing that which is not true. So, it's a great topic. It's a great thing if you do want to share anything at all about it, because that's the first thing, that it is not. And they'll say the same thing. Does my travel card take the place of a driver's license? No, it's not a license, because you do not need a license. So all of this is the mindset that we have been put in, and that's how we approach these things. So it's very important for us to, talk about it and get it clear so that we can come to the table to the breakfast table and the thing be over, provided we get to the table. And so, Islam, I don't know if you want to make any comment on it.
Islam, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. He said it clicked him out, so he is out. He just texted me.
Oh,
and
you had him connect.
And he said,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it because I don't know how.
That's all right.
He said he was going to talk about it, and it clicked him out, but I'm not going to say it because I really want him to share his story. But the only thing I'm going to say is the divine part about all of this is the way he was able to travel is what we're talking about tonight is the mind. It was all in his mind that he was who he said he was, and that was his home, and that no one could tell him that he couldn't come home because of a piece of paper. And that's all he had used. So it was divine, and when he shared the story, it's going to be amazing. But I guess today just truly wasn't the reason for him to share the story, but something still good came out of it. So all is well, and thank you guys for taking my call. And peace.
All righty. All right, peace and love. All right. So we got 2 more callers in 15 minutes. So caller 214565, you're on the air. All right. Caller 862218, you're live in the air with feedback. Islam?
Yeah, the echo.
All right, I guess they stepped away from their phone as well.
They took a potty break.
Right. You know what? You could be right. They probably did.
Yeah. You might want to check back on them in a minute or whatever.
Caller 214565. Are you there?
Islam. This is Brother Abdul Malik Shakur Bey. I'm calling from Northwest Mexico, the Texas Territory. Islam family. Once again, I don't have to call y'all name because I know all y'all name, and y'all doing Allah's work, and the prophet came forth, and y'all are marching and moving forward, instructing the people to learn, study themselves, and study the information that y'all brought, especially what our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali brought up. What the sister was trying to explain, and I can feel it in my spirit. And we, the listeners, take note that there was no legal issue made about the fact that the ex-slaves were of African descent, having the same pedigree and bloodline other Africans. However, the absence of a nationality, as indicated by the Negro and Black brands, created a prima facie social status and the eventual established fact of a demanded public declaration of their Moorish nationality made the difference in their legal status. In law, in the North American society, and throughout the world, and also including the adjoining islands. No, we have to know, like the blood that's flowing in our bodies, the misnomer, us African descent that was descended, we were born in America, but with descendants of Morocco. You must know this here, we are not Indian and Native American, etc., whatever fly by that they're in their media room want to think about, but will and are telling they are who they are, and they represent what they are. They and their sociologists and the many deceptive historians and descendants of these colonial inquisitionists and crusaders, they want to brand. I ain't from Alaska, and I'm not no Alaskan. Yes, we allowed them to come over here, but the word Indian, Negro, Black, and Colored, and Ethiopian, and African American, and whatever you're going to call yourself tomorrow, we were and are also used. They use them brands and tags which were coined by those crackers to calculate the Sardate known society. Yeah, it's sorcery to put us in a thought pattern thinking that we all came over here on 3 slave ships, and they, in fact, didn't know where the hell they were going. But as you stated earlier in the broadcast, that this fiat currency, nations are waking up, because that's why our prophet came to us in the North Gate, because we need the most. And we were asleep. I spoke last Tuesday about the one-on-one cover. That is why, because our mobitis is the key to open up and let all of the ancestors flow into us, and that we can bring back that, as we state, when we're in our woe, that good old day and good time. You at RV Bay Publication, Moor has in History School, Cujo, you my man, Miz, you keep instructing, studying, and teaching the people to dig in. And while you digging in, you make sure that you look into the mirror of your spirit, that which your ancestors were, you are today. And let it live, grow, and let it come out and shine. Islam, I release the flow, family.
Islam.
All right.
Islam.
Islam. Thank you for that.
And let's see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Islam. Let's see. That is our last caller. And what I'm going to do at this time is end the broadcast. Make sure and check us out tomorrow, 7:30 for Moor Heritage and History School. This Thursday at 9 o'clock, we have Sons of Allah. And this Sunday at 1 o'clock, we have Sisters Standing on Law. So with that, peace and love to everyone, and thank you so much for listening. Islam.
Islam. Islam. Love you.
Wow. Indeed.
Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the bibliotheory check that you call the Bible says he shall fool even the most believe. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro
Everybody knows it. To those who need to know, it's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. The gods are back, the Moors are strapped. We waking up, and we want our land back. Running off, that's a trap. You know them gods don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved Islam, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they nigga this right back. We brought them to light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then maybe, then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too smart, Lova, Tor, Marcus, Garvey, your ass. Nova, Julia, are leading, God body the man. Now I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up, so the first I'll be last. I got that melanin that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at your front door, wonder why you never let us in. Oh, I get it, you never wanted to put some credits in. Well, just forget it, cause I don't know if you can edit sin. We've been enlightened long before Thomas Edison. Skeletons to prove that you wasn't even relevant. In the Caucasus Mountains, cause the sun was your deficit. Captain Caveman with the plan of the Jesuits. Check my bloodline, but in time I bring the evidence. Self-governing body, so I don't need no president. Democrat, Republican, donkey versus elephant. I studied in law, so I ain't down with none of that. I self-law and master, so I'm running that. This Molotov counter burns faster, so I like the match. Despite the fact that ain't even what I'm mad at. I spit the truth, so here's the roof, so you can yeah that. My skin is brown and here's the proof, but you ain't hearing that. Dead in the eyes of the law, that's why they call you black. Naming all caps when you fall, that's why I strike back. And strike that from the record ab initio. You gon' need more than some pressure, I got a vicious flow. I can take the road to the high, or I can hit them low. Try to calcify my third eye, oh you gon' have to go. Chemtrails all over the sky, and you don't wanna know. Don't go inside of my tribe, they coming no more. If you believe that your history started on a slave boat, I can guarantee you that's where it ended too. That's what I'm saying. Then, after saying that, and so believe me, go back and do some studies past the 1700s, and I'll guarantee you, sure as you're sitting there listening, or wherever you are, watching, listening, you will find nothing but the word Moor, and that's another thing. Because we weren't called black. That description, maybe, black or more or whatever, but that's it. Know the difference between a description and an actual, person, place, or thing, noun. I mean, really. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. From the pyramids to the project, the beginning is the part they want you to forget. Implant your memory with that noose around your neck. It's the King Alfred plan and it's set in full effect. The butler, the help, and 12 years a slave. Django and Selma, they get them accolades. They made a movie called Exodus about the gods and kings with an all-white cast from Egypt. Now that's the same. They ain't never seen no movie about no European slaves. We were traveling the seas when they was living in caves. We had to civilize them, show them how to behave. In fact, we brought them light and taught them how to bathe. This is trading places with stolen identity. We agreed to be educated by our own enemy. Reverse psychology, I'ma need a lobotomy. An exorcism just to get this shit about me. Roz Mariah, Anna Eve, Miss Raheem, Tariq, Cujo from Cannonland. Listen to them speak. I done learned from the best. I don't need no DNA test. The nations in my womb has given from the breast. The empire's back, so you know what's next. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess. Yes, yes. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess. Birthright theft. The whole deal was, where's my land that, for them? The whole deal was, this is really quote-unquote promised land. This is really the quote-unquote heart of civilization. This is really what you might call Northwest Africa. That's what, and I say that to people so they can stop saying I'm going back to Africa and understand that they in it. It's the Garden of Eden.
That's what they had in Columbus's journal that they arrived
Absolutely.
in Eden.
So what is
Napa know-how. A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comfort